My name is Valerie Hogue, and I have been a successful entrepreneur for over 10 years, and now I am a solopreneur. So I really enjoy working with people, coaching them in healthy aging and performance nutrition, along with healthy living. So I really love working with people who are seeking out the very best in their lives. So today, I'm coming out with this topic of performance nutrition in the aspect of how do we recover quickly from hard workouts, races, or competitions. This is the time of the year when a lot of races are wrapping up. I've had a race wrap up, and I've got a number of people who've got races coming up, and this question was asked of a number of us, what can be done to recover a lot better. So I'm going to bring Steven in, and I'm going to introduce you to him. So Steven is an Ironman Performance Coach since 1990. He has been helping people train and race in over 1,400 Ironman races and thousands of shorter distance races, so running as well, along with triathlons. Athletes have been overall winners in various triathlon age group world championships at distances from Olympics to long course. He has qualified dozens of athletes to the Hawaii Ironman World Championships, which just took place this last weekend. And he has been Coach of the Year, two-time Hawaii Ironman World Championship finisher, which definitely after watching those Kona World Championships, I bow down to you because that is definitely not an easy race. He has a personal best of Ironman time of 9 hours and 21 minutes. That's just nuts because I think my bike was just a little bit shorter than that when I did my Ironman. And a half Ironman finish time of 4 hours and 11 minutes and a half marathon of 1 hour and 11 minutes. He is an expert in performance nutrition, recovery, and health. Am I missing anything, Steve?
Nope, I live in Houston.
Oh,
and it's always hot here. That's about it. Used to be Canada.
So what I wanted to do is bring Steve in and really just dive in a little bit into some questions. So one of the questions, Steve, so really that I've heard from a lot of people, and I can sympathize with them, is after I completed my very first marathon several years ago, I remember how sore I was. Like I was aching. I was super sore. I waddled like a duck with 3 feet, couldn't go up and down the stairs. No one told me how to go down the stairs safely. They didn't tell me the little tricks. Everything hurt. I was incredibly fatigued, and it took me a really long time to recover, which is how I actually ended up into triathlons before I could even get back into the gym. And it wasn't that I didn't want to look at my shoes. I just couldn't even lift my legs. Like it was just dead. So it seems like a lot of people go through something like this. And I know that there are a lot of people who are going to be attempting their very first half marathon or marathon. So maybe based on your experience training so many athletes in the past, what can athletes do in the days leading up to the race? What are some of maybe some suggestions of things that they can do that might help maximize their recovery afterwards?
Yeah, that's a great question. And gosh, I've coached people to thousands and thousands of races. So I've got a very wide spectrum of what works for people and what doesn't work for them for a variety of different age groups, all the way from kids as young as 12, mainly in 16s, usually about the youngest I work with, but up to people in their 80s. So great wide range, not just what works for me, but what works for a lot of people. And as you train more and more, regardless of what you're doing outside of that to help your body recover more, you're going to adapt to that, right? That's what training is. We're trying to break our body down and then cause that adaptive response so you get stronger. But there's still this thing, and there's things that you can do to increase your recovery. Is rest and recovery. So sleep is really important for you. If you're just training all the time, you're just breaking your body down. You need to recover. You need to sleep. Hydration is really important. But the thing that I found is the key is good quality nutrition. And it's not just like everybody focuses these days on the macros. Are you ketogenic, right? Or what's your carb content? How many carbs are you eating today? You know, that really actually doesn't matter as much as what the micronutrients are that are coming into your body. So protein, amino acids, good micronutrient. Protein is a macronutrient, but the amino acids and the breakdown of that and the availability is a micronutrient. And then all the enzymes, the minerals, the vitamins, the phytonutrients, all those, the probiotics, the prebiotics, those are all so important for how your body's going to recover. So just to answer your question very quickly then, it's not actually what you can do in those days leading up to the race. It's actually going to dictate how well you're going to recover. It's what you've done months before and weeks before, and then just in general, what you're doing on a daily basis, because it's like investing in money or doing your training. It's what you do consistently day after day that creates what your body is, right? Our cells regenerate all the time. What are they regenerating with? Are they regenerating with garbage nutrition that you're putting in your body, or are they regenerating with good quality, complete nutrition that you're getting in all the time, instead of just thinking, oh, I had a really awesome organic salad last Tuesday, right? That's not going to cut it. So anyways, hopefully that answered your question. So not specific enough, I know, but it really, at this point, it's just the general concept of quality nutrition coming in regularly through the day, every day, on an ongoing basis, so that as you break your body down, you create that stress. The adaptive response to that stress is to rebuild stronger and better. That's where the recovery comes in. And I can typically get people results 3 times faster by getting them good quality nutrition into their body on an ongoing basis, rather than just firing a training program at them, which is a great plan. I've had people win world championships on those training programs, so I know what to do. But if they eat crap, they're only going to get a percentage out of the training they're doing, and that's a shame.
So what about right before the race? I mean, we hear about carb loading, and I mean, I've had some people when I was, of course, new to running, they'd say, definitely you got to like carb load the days before, and, you know, eat your pasta and have your chips and have your cinnamon buns and have all that stuff. So is there any benefit to that carb loading or not?
Yes and no. Carb loading doesn't really exist. You're carb refueling, basically. You can't load more carbohydrates into your system. You get a huge plate of pasta and you're tapped out with your glycogen stores, because that's what the carbohydrates are for, to replenish glycogen. You can only store so much. It's between 2,000 and 2,500 calories worth of glycogen. So if you keep eating beyond that, your body doesn't have any fuel storage ability left, because you can only pack in so much in your liver and your muscles. It's just going to get either undigested and go through your intestines, or it's going to get stored as fat. That's why there's a lot of triathletes out there who are just having a hard time leaning out, because they're always carb loading, and all those extra carbs they're bringing in are going to go into fat storage. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But the component, like, I would recommend doing carbohydrates as a fuel source, because it works really well, right? But the more you do to give your body what it needs, the more likely you are to get into digestive upset. I used to pack in over 400 calories an hour in an Ironman. And that's what I figured was my max window at that intensity level. If I was sitting around doing nothing on the couch, but I could eat a whole lot more than 400 calories. But when I'm running a 7-minute mile pace in an Ironman, right after the bike, I can't eat 400 calories an hour and allow it to come into my body really easily, or eat more than that. That's about what I can bring in. So you're eating enough to fuel your body, hopefully, before you get to the end of the race and bonk and run out of fuel, because you're burning energy, and you can never replenish the water, the electrolytes, and the fuel as much as you're burning it off. You just can't. Right? So you want to start off the race topped up in all those 3 areas. So if somebody's focused on burning carbs, totally, you got to go that route. I can't get them to burn fat all of a sudden. It's a process. But you know Jill, who just finished Ironman Louisville. I got a note from her the other day. She did 15 hours in that race, horrendous conditions. She was thrilled with the results, had a great PB, 700 calories for the whole race, 15 hours, right? Michelle, she's a 11-hour Ironman triathlete, 700 calories for the whole 11 hours. She's going harder, so she's going to use a little bit more. And compared to me, I did 3,600 calories in my 9-hour and 20-minute race. It's crazy, right? So if you can get somebody burning fat as a fuel source, they can dramatically reduce the amount of the calories that they're bringing in through the day. Your chance of digestive upset is almost eliminated. And if you've done any Ironmans or half Ironman races, you know it's not the performance that you've developed going into the race that dictates how well you're going to perform. It's how your digestive system is going to allow you to perform based on the fuel that's going to allow you to access for that race. So if you're focused on carbohydrates, you're playing a really fine line through that entire race of getting in enough to support your intensity, but not getting in too much. It's going to shut your digestive system down. But if you can teach your body how to access fat, which is what I train people to do now, and what we've worked, you and I have worked on, it just dramatically eliminates so much potential for, bad performance on an Ironman day, because you don't have to worry about the digestion anymore, because your body's got this great storage pool of fat, right? We all do, right? I've got probably I don't know, 70,000 calories on me of fat. And, I'm a pretty lean guy, right? Every pound of fat's 3,500 potential calories. So there's a lot of fuel on our body. So 1 pound of fat is almost 50% more fuel than your entire body can store in carbohydrates. So anyways, I'll shut up because I can just go on forever about this stuff. So I'll pass it back to you.
Oh, it shows you're really passionate about it and really helping people. So I guess one of the questions that I know someone had popped into my messages, they said, is there anything specific they can do during the race that might help them so that they're not doing the duck waddle after they're done? Is there anything they should be focusing on? I mean, we're now into, up here in Canada, it's now cooler temperatures. So I know one of the things that seems to get neglected are electrolytes. Mm-hmm. But is there anything people should be paying attention to at this time?
You know what, there's products out there called adaptogens, and those are really good. I use a particular product that you know about. It's E Plus energy shots from Isogenics, and it's a great little adaptogenic herbal drink with some caffeine. Love it. It's when I'm out on a hard ride with Michelle, and I don't race anymore. I'm not interested in racing, but I'll do my bike rides with her, especially the long ones on the weekend, and I'm just aching most of the time because she's going so hard. I have one of those Eve shots, and like 15 minutes later, I'm wondering, why was I feeling so miserable? Because the adaptogens in it allow my body to adapt to that stress. There's also branched chain amino acids, which are going to be really good for your body to get in through training at the right amount, because you don't want to tip it off and slow down your digestive system, but you can get some BCAAs in, or BCAAs if you want to be correct, and that's going to help, especially leucine as an amino acid. It's going to really help your body regenerate muscle, because there's 3 things we're trying to do when we're doing our training, right? Now again, I have this roundabout way of answering your question, but the concept is so important when I'm coaching people. It's to help them understand, right? Because you see my program, help them understand the program and the training that they're doing so that you do a better job of it. And when you're training, you're trying to do 3 things. Not necessarily all the time, because you might focus on one, but you're trying to either get that adaptive response. You break your body down. A good example would be going into the gym, lifting a heavy weight and tearing muscle fibers, and giving your body the building blocks, hopefully good, clean, quality building blocks like Isogenics does for us. That makes it simple, less expensive, and way more effective than normal food that people think is so great, but is so deficient nutritionally. You get that adaptive response by breaking your muscle down and then giving it what it needs to rebuild. So that's one thing that we're trying to do for training. Another one would be fuel adaptation. So we talked about that, teaching your body how to access fat for a longer period of time at an increasing intensity level. Mark Allen was a master at that years ago. That's why he dominated Ironman racing. He didn't do carbohydrates. And him and Dave Scott were racing way before all that stuff came out. They just figured out how to fuel their body effectively to really maximize what it had, a lot of it in it. They're so lean. They hardly ate in these races because they were accessing muscle or fat to fuel their muscle in those events. And the third thing we're doing is similar to number 1. It's a little different. It's that aerobic development, right? We're trying to go out there like base training, for example. You're trying to teach your aerobic system to get really efficient and effective at what it's doing. So a VO2 max type workout, increasing your VO2 max, your body's ability to bring in oxygen. Another product that Isogenics just came out with is NOx, NOx, and it's a nitric oxide developer. And it's full of nitrates from beet juice and red spinach and celery. It gets into your system is nitrate through your bacterial conversion in your mouth, and then gets you this nitric oxide effect in your system, your blood supply. So that's a phenomenal product as well. It's going to give us, the things that we're able to do during the race, our training that we want to help our body adapt better and feel better afterwards. So heart rate drops dramatically. We've got Michelle's heart rate down 15% by accessing fat as opposed to carbohydrates for a fuel source or glycogen. But not only that, she's way less achy through the race, no digestive issues, and your performance is about 10 to 15% higher. So 15% lower heart rate, 10 to 15% higher performance in terms of speed. That's phenomenal. Love it.
Fabulous. Now, of course, another big key thing, and I know you've been strong on teaching me that, is what you do after the race. That plays a big factor on like what are we doing after that race? I mean, after you cross that finish line, get your medal, or after you compete and you've received your trophy, or even you've had that really hard workout, what are maybe a couple of things that would be really beneficial to either do or to be using so that we're recovering much faster?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question, because it's that little window right after workout. And again, it's the consistency. And I saw Jane Ducey popped up a question that I'll answer in a second. But it's the consistency of doing things on an ongoing basis. It's actually going to give your body what it needs to do that give it what it wants, those building blocks, right? So if you're in a much better shape, muscularly going into a race, you're going to recover a lot better faster, like afterwards, just because your muscles are in better shape. But key things, those BCAAs, you can take them during an event, but especially afterwards. So Isogenix has a product called Recover. There's a lot of BCAA products out there. You don't have to use Isogenix. I just find that's a cleaner version, right? Right? Like, I'm sure that there's people that are going to love that product, and go for it if that's for you. But for me, I want something that's natural and as healthy as possible, and it doesn't have dyes and artificial flavorings and things like that in it. That's just for me, right? Anybody else can do what they want. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to do things like Recover. It's going to give me some BCAAs back into my system afterwards that I can really benefit from. I'm going to, get good carbohydrates loading back into my system as well, right? Not that we can carbo load, but I'm going to get carbohydrates in my body right after a workout, because that's when my glycogen stores are most open to accepting those. So good proteins, good BCAAs, good carbohydrates, water, right? If you're trying to load glycogen or build glycogen stores in your body, you need to drink water, because glycogen is carbohydrates and water combined, right? You can't just eat carbs and expect to store glycogen. You need to have both. And, active recovery is always a really good thing. And giving your body rest, right? Just giving it that chance to recover is so important. So, but to answer Jane's question very quickly, it takes a few months to really dial into that. And it depends on whether or not you want to do cleansing days. I find those accelerate the process by doing a fasting day and cleansing impurities out of your system to make those fat cells more available for fuel. And that's what got me interested in Isogenix initially 10.5 years ago. When I first heard about it, I thought it was a weight loss program. I'm like, I am not interested in losing weight. But when I heard it was a great health system that would allow me to access fat better as a fuel source, that got my attention. So I started playing around with, and especially doing it now with Michelle, playing around with cleansing days and training through those to force your body to go after that fat store for fuel. And it's just, it's like going out for a run for the first time in a long time. You're not going to feel good, but you're going to keep doing it, because if you don't, you're not going to get better at it. Same thing, training on cleansing days and fasting days. You want to train without bringing carbohydrates in. So training fasted so that your body has to go after those fat stores. You're going to suck, right? I've told you this a million times. Lower your expectation of your training on that particular day. Don't change your training, right? Lower the expectation of what you're going to accomplish, but do the training, right? You might have to cut it short a little bit or lower the intensity. That's totally fine. But just do the workout. Just be active. Force your body to get used to going after that fat for fuel. And every time you do it, you're going to get better at it, because you're going to adapt. That's the way we were designed, right? For adaptive machines, we're going to we might resist, but we'll figure out a way to adapt to make it better, right? And you get more efficient at it. And that's how we improve our performance. And fueling is so important. Fueling and nutrition are different. So I always think of nutrition as what we do outside of training and racing, and fueling is what we do during it.
Okay. And when you're talking about getting good carbs in, what are great sources? Like, what would be your go-to in that case? I mean, is there anything that you take, or I know I've heard people say definitely pile in the protein afterwards. So is that something that people should be looking at, and in what time frame?
Yeah, great time to bring, and I'm not a nutritionist, I don't want to be a nutritionist, I just know what works for the people that I've coached. But the thing that I always try and do is get them to think about the timing of the carbohydrates and the combination. Now, some people are going to talk about not eating carbohydrates with proteins. I particularly don't care. I'm just going to get them in, because I want to maximize that 30-minute window right after workout for a couple of reasons. One, my cells are a lot more open and looking for fuel and micronutrients to bring back in. The other one is, if I'm bringing in carbohydrates right after a workout, I don't need to generate as much insulin to process those carbs and get them stored as glycogen. And if I can lower my insulin levels, that's a great health benefit, but it's also going to be a really good thing for storing the glycogen, but not storing the fat. And if I can lower my insulin levels, my chances of building and rebuilding muscle are a lot harder. Because if your insulin levels are really high, you're in a fat storing mode, not a fat burning mode. But you're also in a muscle wasting mode, not a muscle building mode. So we want to increase growth hormone and lower insulin as much as we can. And higher protein is certainly going to do that. And getting your carbs in after exercise or during exercise is so important for that kind of concept.
Fabulous. Well, Steven, I really appreciate all the little bits of information you had. And I'm sure this is going to open up a can of worms as people start to process this and try to think, and figure out, what do I do? How do I do this? So what I'm going to encourage folks is, if they have questions, definitely put those in the comments, and I'll take a look, and I'll make sure that Steven also gets a chance to see them if there's something that needs him to answer. But definitely appreciate it. I think some of the big takeaways, of course, like you had stressed, I mean, it's what you do earlier on that's going to dictate how it's going to be after that race. But for those people who are coming up to a race, I mean, definitely get that sleep, get that hydration in, get some good food in, get good, proper nutrition in. What you're doing during the race, I mean, that's just your fuel. So don't change the plan, but, really focus on that good nutrition and that good recovery. There's a lot of great products out there, but we have to be really aware as to what are in the product. Steve, do you have any closing remarks you want to throw out? Any comments, any maybe aha moments, mic dropping moments for people that they can walk away with and maybe put into use if they've got a race coming up this weekend?
Yeah, you know what, this weekend's maybe a little close, but just active recovery, some short sprints to get you ready for the race, freshen up your legs. There's not a whole lot you can do, because remember, it's those daily thing that's going to get you ready for optimal performance and fueling. A lot of times people get hold of me, and I'll do this really quickly, is they just say, I want to get faster, what do I need to do? And I'm like, your number one way of getting faster is just drop that excess weight, right? If you're carrying excess weight around and you're trying to, improve your performance, that's the number one thing that you can do to really improve your performance, is just lean out a little bit more, increase your strength to weight ratio or power to watt ratio, or power to kilogram ratio. That's the thing that's really going to help improve your performance for the most part. But if you do it in a healthy way, everything else improves as well, right? And that's the thing I really try and stress upon people. Like for yourself, you've lost so much weight over the time, right? That since I've known you, and you've dramatically improved your performance because of that. And you're just keeping it going. You're just keeping it going, which is awesome. Because as you're doing it, you're also doing it in a very healthy way. And it's great to watch you do that, because now you're not only improving your recovery because you're healthier and getting what your body needs, and getting healthier everywhere else in terms of energy and aging, but you're also leaning out and improving that strength to weight ratio, which is so important for overall performance. So anyways, it's all good.
I appreciate your help, Steve, and look forward to maybe doing another one of these.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime. Okay, Val.
Great. Thanks.